Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Straight Outta Zion podcast. It's your girl, Jessica, here. We have a very, very, very hot and spicy topic today. We're talking about hustle culture and apprenticeship. Which side are you on? Which side works best? Which side is the best side to be on as a Christian? And all of those things. We have some very interesting guests on the show today, and I am so convinced that you're going to be blessed. Like the previous episodes we've had, this was a live recording, so you're going to be getting the hot gist live, nothing removed, 100% authentic, right? So if you have any thoughts, if you have any comments, please drop this in our comment section below, and do not forget to like, share, subscribe with everybody you know. Let's spread the word. Enjoy the episode. Bye.
You know, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has inspired me to do all things. Glory. God, I bet no verse. Somebody had things where I know see for inside Bible. Anyway, God will not shame me. Okay, so the first thing that I have here is, so like we're examining cultures and traditions and all, and like the first thing that comes to mind with respect to work is how, okay, so I'm just going to say two things, right? Apprenticeship and hustle culture. So just to give context, apprenticeship is when you kind of like go intern with somebody, go learn from somebody, the ropes about a particular profession and stuff. I know you have some experience that, Pastor Timmy has experience that with PD and all. I don't know about Mr. Ideme. Mr. Ideme, do you have apprenticeship experience?
No,
yeah.
I've not been a boss all my life, bro.
So there's apprenticeship. And then hustle culture is this new thing now that is happening where everybody wants to be an entrepreneur because they feel like the next thing now is to make money, cash out. All the musicians now want to sing, and like Pastor DG was saying, everything is all about the money. Like, if you want to blow now, all you need to do is sing a track about the Abi. Just put money, maybe girls, money sha, but that money must be inside. So what are your thoughts on it? Like, I mean, we know about apprenticeship. We know that it has some ills. Like, we're talking about on the group, like going to learn. Like tailors, I'm a fashion designer. I did not learn that way, but I know people that after like 3 years of learning, they still don't know how to cut. And that's like the first thing that you will learn. 3 years. So what were you doing? So you're practically like the maid of the madam, but the person that you are learning from. He has the part of abuse, but there's also the part where you kind of like build grit and all. I know people have done away with it now. So what are your thoughts? Is it something that we should forget about and then just go for the hustle? Like, this person no feel make I move and do the next best thing that will give me the money. It's all about the money. Like, is that like something that we should embrace, or what are your thoughts on it? Yes, you sir.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I usually sing my thoughts. I usually don't speak my thoughts. The places where I speak, the people that know. All right, but I can sing it. Not after the last 4 hours. All right. So, like you rightly mentioned, I have quite a bit of experience when it comes to apprenticeship. So I was with Flow Rocker for. How many people know Flow Rocker? There are a lot of Gen Z. They don't know that.
I have come to give you Twali.
That's even in my opinion, that's even the least. I mean, a lot of your favorite tracks were produced by Flow Rocker.
Wow.
Were produced or mixed or produced and mixed by Flow Rocker. So I was a Flow Rocker for I think about 5 years, 6 years thereabout. And of those 5 years, as a singer, active singer, and then of those 5-6 years, I was his audio intern for about 3 years. thereabout. So so I did the whole boy thing. I mean, I've opened shop, closed shop. I've done it. I've done it all. I tell people now that I've done that already. I cannot do that now. I've done it already. So of course, like you rightly mentioned, there are extremes of those scenarios. There are people who've had experiences like that, and it wasn't very palatable. But I strongly believe, and we also see that same parallel example in the scripture, I strongly believe that there is a place of you serving under someone. I strongly believe that. Whatever it is, whether it's in a spiritual job, in a spiritual field like a pastor, ministry or whatever, or it's in a non-spiritual sense of a career or whatever it is. Of course, the dynamics of that is based on you, and because we are believers here, based on your dealings with God. God can tell you go and serve or not someone. If God says please, do that. So we can't take that out. So it's not a thing you do, just like we're saying this morning, how that because somebody said this was what he did to get his miracle, you now say, okay, that's the same thing I would do. No, it doesn't work like that. So things like that should be done as led. I think it's as led. So anyway, back to my story. I was with him for those number of years, and so for me, one of the things you must know is you need to identify the manner in which the person you are under communicates knowledge, and whether that manner of communication works for you. If it doesn't work for you, Ogbeni, I think you should go, because there's no point. Because one of the reasons why you serve is so that you can learn, right? So there's no point spending time there and then you're just wasting your time, right? So, but again, it is important that if and when you do decide to leave, right, you need to leave properly. Whether or not your experience was palatable or not. Because I see a lot of young people now, no, I don't, there's a way they used to say it. I'm trying to look for the English, because I used to hear it a lot. But you are my G. So, these people know, I've had conversations, so they know. I mean, someone still, okay, I can't say that. But I still had mental health. I still had, there was still a scenario that played out recently, So we're not saying things like that are not true. We're not saying there are no abuses. There are, right? But still, because of character, because of the fact that you are a believer, there's a proper way to live. You don't just up and leave. You don't disrupt or scatter a relationship because you were not treated right in that relationship. No, because the truth about the matter is this: your antecedents will always speak for you. People always refer to where you are coming from. And if in tracing where you are coming from, they reach there and they find out that Skeleude inside, then there's a problem. There's a tendency for you to be judged by where you are coming from. So if the report they are getting is not palatable, it doesn't make any sense. You understand what I'm saying? So it's important that you handle relationships right. So I'm for apprenticeships as led by the Spirit of God. I'm for serving under people. I'm for ensuring that the communication of knowledge in that space is something that you know how to receive. So I was, like I mentioned, just to round up, it was an audio thing, right? So if you're going to learn audio, just like if you're going to learn graphic design, or if you're going to learn anything that has to do with hands, right? It's good you have one or two of the tools, so that as you learn, you practice.
Right.
So in my own case, I actually didn't have a laptop. I didn't have anything. So I was basically learning by sight.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
I was basically learning by sight, actually. Everything Flo did, I would just, okay. And like this, they do. So it was until when I stepped out, I started doing stuff on my own. And okay, now that's the way Flo they talk about this. Okay. So that could work for me because I could assimilate a lot of knowledge by, just watching. And then, of course, you have to also read. If you're going to do audio, you can ask Tobe, he's my mentor. You have to read. You cannot read, watch videos of that. So
But of course, to also mention, it wasn't always a smooth journey. It wasn't always a smooth journey. Speaking real time now, in terms of my experience with Floroka, it wasn't always a smooth journey, right? But at the end of the day, one of the things I learned was that you must have capacity in your heart to deal with the person you are working with. It's so important. In fact, you become a wiser person, you become a better person, and you're also empowered, you're also enlarged such that some of those flaws that you are seeing, you possibly may not repeat them, or you possibly will know how to handle them better. Not necessarily because you are better.
Yeah.
You see that thing we always say that sometimes when we're growing up, we're like, my parents do not have this. I'll close it. I saw one tweet. Someone said, you grew up saying your parents don't have money, your parents don't have money, your parents don't have money. You are 35 now, you still don't have money. So sometimes it's not always just the way it seems. Sometimes there's a lot more involved, but like I said, I'm for apprenticeship. I think you shouldn't throw it away. You don't throw away the baby and the bath. No. You pick the good things out of it, you manage the relationships, and then you go on from there.
I mean, amazing. Like, as he was talking, I just remembered one time when he pulled us aside, and sometimes he used to pull us aside and have some conversations with us. For people watching, I'm in the choir, he's my music director. So, so in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, we gotta do all the things, sir. But there was something that he said that stuck with me, and it was that you should always strive for your heart to be right with whoever it is that is your leader. And he said, okay, yeah, you might not agree with everything I do. I might not agree with everything that somebody ahead of me or in charge of me does. He even mentioned his boss. I don't know the name. I would have mentioned the name, so I would have casted you. But I don't know the name, So he mentioned his boss that no matter what, his heart cannot change towards that boss. And I think
honor is important.
Exactly.
Honor is important.
So I think that would also help you to, like he said, this is not advocating for abuse. Like he said, if you can't just move, but do your due diligence. But this will help you to kind of like mind good in apprenticeship, because like you said, there are a lot of amazing stuff in there. But Mr. Ejame, let's talk about hustle culture, right? Like I mentioned before, hustle culture is everybody just wanting to be an entrepreneur now. Nobody wanting to serve under anybody, because we gotta make this money. Like, let's hustle. There's this hustle thing going up and about. Like, let's make this money. Where's the next place to make the money? What are your thoughts on hustle culture? Is it something that we should stick with, or should we just straight away and then hold on to apprenticeship? Or what are your thoughts?
I don't think my thoughts are fundamentally different from Rotimi's thoughts at all. It's very important that we learn the rudiments, right? To someone who has gone there before, seen that, done that, knows nuances that come with a particular field. It's very important. It's not as if, and that is not to say entrepreneurship is bad in itself, but one of the major advantages of having to learn under someone, so that the quicker you go up, you don't quickly come down as well. Yeah. Because whether you like it or not, the terrain is unforgiving. When you fall flat, it's almost like, how will I put it? The best I can use is Simba Mufasa.
No coming back from that.
When the wildebeest come, they just crush you, and nobody cares, and that's that. Yeah. It's very important. How you start, how you leave matters. I know that we live in an era where we have brittle, fickle, and more delicate kind of people that tend to be sensitive when hardship or people's character flaws come at them. But one thing I'll say from my own reading, I'm not even talking, I'll come to scripture, is that people don't understand that after the fall of man, there is a rule. The rule is that poverty is the rule,
Yeah.
not the exception. Hardship is the rule, not the exception. What Christ did was to liberate us from all that
Right.
is, right? Yes. So when you are faced with such kind of obstacle, it's very important to define your objective. And of course, learning the ropes matter. So for someone like me, I always wanted to do practice, as it were.
Right.
But I found myself in an oil and gas trading company. Yeah, of course, money, but it's not always about that.
Hey, so the hustle culture question was accurate when I asked you.
Well, I wouldn't even say yes or no to that, yes, but don't worry. Maybe my own, as I'm speaking, may address that answer. It's a trajectory that took me to the left in a way, but it was very helpful.
Right.
Why? Because it made me see human beings for what they are at every level. At how, business is like war,
Yeah.
right? You could see you see all manner of people with all manner of intentions,
Wow.
all manner of things, both in the office, your colleagues, those that are maybe customers, those that are clients, vendors, name it. That was one university that I
School of
always
Hard Knocks.
thankful for. Yeah, and yeah, whether I like it or not, now looking back, it was actually a toxic environment.
Horrible bosses.
Oh my God. I remember I was sitting down listening to the horrible bosses space sometime. Was it in April? On Twitter.
Yeah.
Everybody was crying and telling us how they realized, wow, I really went through a lot.
But you were
But I didn't
oblivious to
see
it.
I genuinely did not see it as that. I saw it as the necessary training
Right.
needed for where I was going to. And you best believe it, that's one of the things that's kept me as an entrepreneur. Trust me, it's tough being an entrepreneur in Buhari's era.
Okay, before we get into Buhari's
I'm not going into it. I'm just saying, okay, let me take that back. Cut.
said cut.
We understand.
I mean, more of like the season of famine. Yeah, does that work?
I don't know how that is better, but okay.
There was a time in Egypt there was abundance.
Okay, yeah.
So you need, certain amount of knowledge, wisdom, and
Right.
capacity to breeze through, because you get hindrances, you get no's, doors shut, all things that your pretty ideas will not address when the tire hits the road.
Yeah.
Do you think that hustle culture does not have enough grit to have a lasting business? Because from everything you are saying now, you're talking about the good of apprenticeship and how it had helped you build resilience and all of that. Do you feel like hustle culture will not allow you to do that?
Well, I'll say yes and no, and it all depends on the circumstance.
Okay.
The truth about it is that it's because of the objective that we tend to see people tend to give up more when they want to hustle on them by themselves or try to, do things by themselves. And, and that objective is not being well trained and properly structured, right? That's what it takes you back to what I was saying. When you stay under someone, like my boss would tell me, Ehidiame, listen to me. See this seat that you are sitting, they don't like you. It's this seat that you are sitting. Because then I was, as a company secretary, there were some things I was,
Right.
You best believe it that on my birthday, I had so many cakes. I had more cakes than the ladies in my office. I was like, now
And
me
they
it
rush
is.
you.
He said, look at it. But you best believe, he said, don't look at that thing. The moment that thing leaves you, right? Nobody will care about you. Like when our company got into trouble, literally from that day till now, some people have not even called me.
Wow.
Oh, some people thought I would be begging under Lagos. But
Wow.
God shamed them. Thank God.
Wow.
But now what that tells you, at least he also told me some things about human beings, about the trade and everything that made me see, because, okay, now another thing again, before I even address what I want to say, there's also a flip side about apprenticeship, but I think
Right.
maybe I should address it much later. But the point is that the need for structure helps you. It creates one thing that you need. That grit you're talking about.
Yeah.
Grit is both.
Routines.
It's kind of like perseverance and discipline, right? Routine, something that kind of like puts your legs on the ground. Every 7:30, you need to be in this place. These are what you're supposed to do. This is what you need to do. Blah 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 blah. This is also where you need to, push yourself beyond certain limits. Blah 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 and all that. So it also gives you a sense of. It also teaches you not to be too overtly quick to want profit. Some people are quick to want the icing. They're not ready to do the very bit of work. And it also teaches you delayed gratification, because sometimes even when you do the work, you don't get enough credit. You probably don't even get the cake. Nothing. So all those things help test your helps makes shaping your perspective properly, so that when you are now on your own, when you have a defined objective, you know how to go about it. You know when to press brakes. You know when to accelerate. You know when to team up, work with people. You learn how to understand that people are people, and they will definitely disappoint you. They will definitely, some will surprise you in both good and bad ways. Blah 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 and all that. So the whole point of apprenticeship helps build that for every individual. They will even tell us then in law school that as much as possible, if you can do practice for 1 or 2 years, please do so before venturing out, or at least be under somebody. When you're not under somebody, you are going to make more mistakes that are really needless. Now, back to the thing I wanted to say about the downside of apprenticeship. Yes, I get that there are some Lebanish kind of bosses that they want to suck.
Not that they want to suck. Not that they want to suck. They actually suck.
Oh my God. So I don't know. In those kind of situation, it's so about wisdom. It's so much about wisdom. How you live matters. In fact, those things even subdivided into two, because some people too tend to want to suck up and stay in that comfort. An eagle is not meant to be staying in the rocks. It's meant to fly. It's meant to spread the wings. It's kind of odd to see a fully grown eagle chilling, waiting for food to drop on his lap. It's kind of very odd. So that point of transitioning, it matters. My dad would tell you, hey, damn, how you leave that door matters. So even when the company I was working for had some problems, of course, our boss was literally driving us into a cliff. Like, you know that you're going down. Prison and all those kind of stuff. No jokes. I always tell those who are close to me that, save for the mercy of God, maybe I would have been somewhere, and maybe I would have not been here. But he says, hey, damn it, the way you live matters, regardless of what you are seeing around you. It matters. And he, thank God for my dad, that guided me to that process, because I was already feeling the type of way, after loyalty, after working hard, kind of like Jacob, and nothing. But even at that, it took the wisdom of my dad, and I think that was also the period where Pastor Poju spoke about stuff in our camp meeting then, about working in light and working in darkness. I had to call my boss, tell him how much I appreciated him. I honored him. I made sure I sorted things out with those it felt like I had grievance with. Even my own best friend then, I sorted them things. I made sure the door was open, and then and went out, and that's how, of course, as I hit the ground running, no hindrances, I'm able to grow.
I think the connecting point that both of you have mentioned. I mean, you said your thoughts have aligned, but it's basically not living the wrong way and the importance of apprenticeship. But you also mentioned something about like a full-grown eagle chilling. I know apprenticeship is not chilling, and some people have to set out. Jacob set out. Yeah. Although it was not under good circumstances, but then he set out. So many other people have set out that were not under good circumstances. But they set out. They found themselves there, and they had to make do. So, Pastor Timmy, I feel like, okay, so the question I wanted to ask you was, which one should we go for? Apprenticeship or hustle culture? But I don't think anything is entirely bad in itself. So how can we marry the two so that we can have our cake and eat it?
You want to cheat. Honestly, the things that have been said already seems to point in the right direction. I think they're both interconnected. I think, in scriptures. So all the while I've been trying to look through all through, and even till now, I've really not been able to pick anybody that didn't have an apprenticeship system before launching out. Except you can help me with it. Before Abraham launched out, they actually told us it was with his father. Now they didn't tell us exactly what he was doing, but it was in the company. It was their dad that was actually leading the pack before he passed on. Lot with Abraham, you see that. Joshua with Moses, you see that. Elisha with Elijah, you see that. Jesus with his father, he was a carpenter. Who was supposed to go into full-time ministry. He was a carpenter for the larger part of 30 years of his life. All the disciples with Jesus. So literally, it almost seems that the Bible is for service before launching out. Service before launching out. I think they are highly interconnected because of the several benefits. Now, what your boss or whoever it is does, that should not determine what you do. In other words, the position of your boss that shouldn't be your own basis for your response, your reactions, and whatever it is that you do. Because not all bosses had it, will treat you good. Even the scriptures tell us about bosses that wouldn't treat people good. But that system has to be in place. You have to learn. And the thing is, even in these places, in the process of learning, there are menial things that you will do. They refer to Elisha as a person that poured water. It wasn't ministry, not as though Elijah was ministry and he was there, he was giving interpretation to it, or it was no. It was literally the boy of Elijah. I mean, Jesus sent his disciples on errands. Go and buy me food. Some people could have been older than him at that point. Go and buy me food. And he was talking to the Samaritan woman. Go and prepare the room for us there. I'm coming. There was a season where, when you started going in this line, I'm like, you will not cover me. You will not cover, and I will not allow you to cover me because I'm still under apprenticeship. There was a time I was just thinking about certain things. Because some people, will think, oh, it's Pastor Timmy now, or it's Pastor Dylan now, or you're going to have a lovely time, I'm going to have a nice time, I know that's going to be fine. But I reserve my comments very soon. My boss may just be watching me in Abuja right now. So there was a time I was just on the road one day and I was just thinking about a number of things that were happening, and I was just thinking to myself, just as everybody was thinking, that maybe I chose the wrong career. Maybe I shouldn't have gone this route.
What would you have done if you were not a pastor?
What would I have done if I wasn't pastor?
Yeah.
That's a very big question because, funny enough, I got saved pretty early. I think that affected the sense of a call that I had. And even from when I was young, funny enough, pastoring or better still, ministry, maybe pastoring, I'd always been there. Wow. I was telling someone that, thinking about it, when you ask young chaps, so what do you want to be? Really, I'd always been pastor for me.
So maybe because
my dad was in the ministry too, perhaps.
Wow.
And I also know that, there's a sense of, for children, they have a sense of destiny when they are young, actually. When they get to the age of accountability, knowledge sets in. The knowledge of good and evil sets in. So ambition sets in, and then they begin. Because Paul wrote something in Romans 7 that is quite an interesting thought. He said, when I was young, I was alive. He said, but the commandment came, sin revived in me, and I died. What it means really is this. As children, very small children, if you notice, children know things. I don't know if you've paid attention. They know things sometimes. They know that this is supposed to be like this is supposed to be like that. Sometimes, just by intuitive thing. They cannot say certain things out. because their spirits are alive to God.
Right.
You know, their spirits are connected to God. They've not reached the age of accountability where they need to make a decision that, okay, what will you choose?
Yeah.
At that point, because their spirits are alive, they can pick things.
Right.
They can know that, mommy, you are not supposed to go. They may not be able to explain, but they know that, don't go, mommy.
Yeah.
And you, truth be told, there is robbery happening somewhere that you're going.
Yeah.
I've had, and I'm sure many people have that kind of experience.
Yeah.
I've had children say that, oh, no one, you can't see the lady pregnant, and a child just comes that you are pregnant. Thank God they are witnesses. That
Yeah.
you are pregnant, no sign. Their spirits are alive to
Alive
God.
to God, right.
And they can pick such things.
Right.
So I think when I was young, that was it. And I I got born again early. So it had just always been there for me, that this is what I was going to do. Now, how the whole thing was going to turn out, I didn't know.
So you would have picked pastoring again.
I would.
Steady.
Maybe I may not have picked the route I went through. Most likely, nobody will pick the route they all go through.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
But thank God leaves all of those details to himself and doesn't tell us and just allows us to flow.
Right.
But I think apprenticeship is just always there. Even the Bible says, if you are not faithful in what is another man's, who will give you your own? That means your own will not come directly, really.
Yeah, at the end of the day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it really wouldn't come directly.
Right.
It will, it's not pleasant. It's not, but it's just part of the training, and it's honestly part of life. Just receive it that way, ball with it, roll with it. All this mental health nonsense that people are talking about. It's Twitter that is causing all these things.
Yeah.
Now we talk about bullying in children in school and all that.
About the bully
And I'm like, oh God, if you know how they take bully us, from beginning.
This one is even diluted.
That's it. This bullying is just, I remember getting into boarding school, and I was walking on the road. From behind, I just got a slap. Bah! I can still remember, that was the second day of my time in boarding school. I just got a slap.
Initiation. Welcome.
You decrease. Cisse will they come for your back. I want to say you they come for your back for crying out loud. My eye day front. You slapped me off the road. Cisse will they come for your back. Jesus is Lord. And I'm like, is this where they put me? Is this where I'm going to spend the better part of my secondary school and all that? It has been there. So I think social media that is just hyping this thing. You are not unique. Everybody goes JR. Everybody has their own story to tell. You are not unique. And I can tell you, I promise you, even in ministry, because sometimes you can like to think, ministries, they're all serving. Not as though they are not serving God. Everybody's serving God. But people's temperaments come up in their dealings. And nobody's perfect, just like you are not perfect.
That's it.
If someone is going to learn under you now, we don't know what will happen to.
True.
We don't know what will happen. You are just seeing your fine face coming to church, you are wearing gown and shirt and you are all looking. Yeah. Someone is coming to serve under you now. You don't know the next thing Then back then in secondary school, I was waiting to be in SS3. I will show you people.
Visit the scenes of the fathers on their
I will call a boy, you say you cannot come. When I dare your I feel come down, are you okay? That kind of way. So there's that sense too that we don't know what you're going to do when you're in power too.
Yeah.
When you also have all of that opportunity to wield authority and wield power,
right.
You don't know what you're going to do. So just flow with it. It's part of the making of who you are, really. It's part of the making. It's part of the making. I heard this one time, and I think it's true, that when a butterfly lays its egg, and they're trying to transit, that you don't help the butterfly to break out of that.
Yeah.
That the moment you do, it loses its color, it loses everything.
Yeah.
So that process of breaking out of the shell itself is part of what gives it the color and everything that it has to fly. So I think it's just part of the process. The hustle will come. Everybody would. Yeah. Although I don't like that word. But it will come. But we understand what we mean. But then there also has to be apprenticeship. There has to be.
Yeah.
If I may, probably to share like 2 extra thoughts. There's a particular word that I usually say now
to permit me to say the Gen Zs, you must have fortitude.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's the part that is lacking, because the truth of the matter is this: you live in a broken world.
Right.
You live in a fallen world.
Right.
Nothing will ever be perfect. If you live for
That's it.
perfection, just die.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Just die. So nothing will ever be perfect. So what that means is that things will not always necessarily be comfortable.
Right.
You won't always, everything won't be put on the plate for you.
Right.
So you must have that strength of character to always push through.
Right.
So I'm just saying what ADM said, but I'm giving it a word, which is fortitude.
Fortitude.
And like we mentioned, if in the case that you feel like this environment is not going to work for me, then there are ways you should go to step out.
Right. Yeah.
If you sense as though, okay, my time has come to fly, there are ways you communicate to make
Yes.
that happen. You must not use the offenses of that environment to now
color.
address or color
Yeah.
your relationship. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't pan out well at the end of the day. And that's one. Two. So let's say you're an outlier, right? There are some people who sense as though they don't necessarily need to serve under someone, right? So let's say you fall in that category. The truth about the matter is this: even in starting out on your own fresh, you will still serve.
Yes. Yeah, true.
So the core mindset is service.
Yeah.
I was, of course, he did an apprenticeship, my boss now where I work. But in his business dealings, when he set up all this, he has set up and all of that. I'm saying this because I recorded his audiobook. I'm handling his audiobook, right? So, because he was reading his story and I was like, you did that. You did that. I found out that, in doing the things that he did as CEO now, entrepreneur now, he still had to serve people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you still had to bend over because you were cherishing a relationship. You were investing in a relationship. You were extending goodwill, not necessarily because you were getting anything back. Right? So even as someone who is possibly an outlier, you necessarily didn't have to go under a certain structure to serve for a period of time and then start on your own. You felt like, man, I'm just going to start out on my own. Even in doing that, in eventually dealing with the people you are going to deal with, you are still going to have relationships that you need to service, that you need to serve under. Because the truth of the matter is this: in this world, the currency of this world is relationships.
Yeah.
The currency of this world. There are scriptures for it. Now, person remember Moses. I said Moses, Joseph.
Yeah.
Right? It's somebody that said, oh, there's one guy that is relationships at the end of the day.
Right.
Unless you want to be a spiritual.
It's too late for that.
But if you are in this flesh and you want to walk in the way this world works, you will need to manage relationships. You will need to service relationships. You need to be a person of service. Yes, people will take advantage of you.
Right.
No,
yes, people will say the wrong things, but at the end of the day, your track record will always speak for you.
Yeah.
Your track record, and then, of course, eventually you always find your tribe.
Right.
You always find people who know that this guy is worth his salt, and this guy is who he says he is. And if we deal with this guy, we're going to get the best of it, right? So those are,
Wow. I mean, let's just. I think from everything, if I'm going to sum it up, service, and that's just it. You should have a heart of service. So whether you want to approach work from the angle of an apprentice or from an entrepreneur, let me not use hustle culture. Because hustle culture implies that you are all about the money, right? And which I don't think as Christians we should be all about the money, So if you want to approach it from as an apprentice or as an entrepreneur or setting out by yourself, the heart should be the same. The motive should be the same. It should be one of service and humility, because it takes a lot of humility to learn under somebody, especially if the person, maybe if you are more qualified than the person in some other areas. So it takes some certain level of humility. So I feel like those two things are like things that we should hold in our left hand.
Okay, my first question will be about the apprenticeship thingy. So there's there's a tendency that if somebody has a bad experience, for example, boarding school example, JSS1 is suffering from JSS3. In his mind, when I get to JS3, I'll do my own back. So that tends to create a cycle of wickedness. So
Revenge.
my boss did to me, I must do to my subordinate. So how do we break that cycle of vengeance in apprenticeship?
Then with respect to, Josh, your question about apprenticeship and all that. The truth about the matter is, we are not like, or let me say it this way, you are a believer. So your response to that situation is a believer's response, which is love.
Right.
So you don't go repeating the same mistakes. Your response, you don't go say, okay, they do me like this, I'll do others. No, you don't do that. Love will not do that. So
right.
The reason why you are there, or the reason why a believer is in that system, is to break that cycle and institute something fresh, something new. That's why you're there. So that's your response at the end of the day. That's it.
Thank you guys for listening. Straight Out of Zion podcast was brought to you by the singles community of the Baptizing Church out of Zion, mainland. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. Like, share, subscribe, comment, forward this to your friends, and come back to check us out for more podcasts. Bye.